and struck his wife in the head, instantly killing her. Long suffered injuries to his chest, finger, and his chin, where a bullet exited through his cheek. 26-year-old Parveen Ali hailed from Pakistan but came to the United States in 2001 with her mom and brothers. She was trying to obtain her GED while working various odd jobs. She dreamed of becoming a teacher and sharing her knowledge and experiences with others. She had a trip to Niagara Falls planned with her family the week of her murder, and it was a trip she was looking very much forward to. A trip she will sadly never realize. Parveen was proud to call herself a United States citizen, a status she had worked for and earned before her life was brutally extinguished. Dr. Almir Olimpio Alves was born on August 9, 1965, in Brazil. He was only 43 years old when he was murdered. Dr. Alves was a professor with a PhD in mathematics. He was visiting Binghamton University on a research grant that was funded by a government agency from Brazil. Almir was able to write and read English quite well. However, he strived to improve his spoken English during the time in the States. He is survived by his loving wife, Marcia, and 16-year-old son, Alan. Mark Henry Bernard was a 44-year-old man from Haiti. Mark had recently been hired at McDonald's, and he was incredibly excited because he longed to live in the United States, where he could provide a better life for his wife, Maria, who worked with him at McDonald's. 46-year-old Maria Sanaya Bernard came from Haiti with Mark for the American dream. They were working towards that better life together when their lives were taken without reason on that cold day. And sadly, the couple will never have the chance to fulfill all of those dreams. Li Guo, who also went by Mary, was a visiting scholar from the University of China. She was born in Tianjin, China, and was only 47 years old when she was murdered. In June of 2008, Mary joined the Binghamton Department of Public Administration. She dreamed of a better life, which she had until she was robbed of the chance to fulfill her life's work. 39-year-old Lan Ho came to the United States only 2 years before her murder, with her husband, who was injured in the shooting. Her friends and family later went to the scene where she was callously murdered and burned incense and read from a Buddhist prayer book in her honor. Layla Khalil lived an incredible 57 years of life before the shooting. She emigrated to the United States with her 3 children and husband after surviving a car bombing in Baghdad. Layla's son was a student at Sorbonne University in Paris, and her daughter was a Fulbright scholar at Binghamton University. Her youngest son was still in high school when his mom died. This scholarly family was the most outstanding achievement of Layla and her husband Samir's. They were all brilliant, and Samir himself spoke 3 different languages. The couple was married for 31 years before Layla was cruelly taken from her loving family in the most unthinkable manner. 72-year-old Roberta King was born and raised in New York, Batavia, New York to be precise. She moved to Binghamton in 1966 and had a whopping 10 children and 17 grandchildren. Roberta was an English teacher who substituted at local schools for years. Fate placed her at the center on that tragic day as she was substituting for another teacher that was off on vacation. She was a wonderful woman that will be greatly missed by the family she left behind. Zhang Ling was born in China but was living in Endicott, New York. Zhang happened to be at the center for unknown reasons that day. 35-year-old Amy Marsland lived in Flushing, New York, having come to the United States in 2004. Upon arriving in the States, she worked a few different jobs such as waitressing, a nail technician, appliance sales at an electrical equipment factory, and she even ran her own deli. Amy was a busy woman and always on the move. She married David Marsland on July 26, 2008, and had less than a year of wedded bliss before her life was viciously taken from her husband, family, and friends. Dolores Yagal had only lived in the United States for about a year before her murder. She was born in the Philippines and immigrated to the United States with her husband, Omri Yagal, who was from Binghamton, New York. Dolores had big dreams of working with children and was taking classes to improve her English in order to fulfill those dreams. Sadly, though, at only 53 years old, Dolores was savagely murdered without reason. 54-year-old Hai Hong Zhang was born in China, but was living in Endwell, New York at the time of the shooting. Because the Civic Center provided so many resources, classes, and opportunities for immigrants, it is unknown exactly why Hai was there on that fateful day. Maria Jobnew, who went by Mima, immigrated to the United States with her family when she was only 4. They came by way of Ellis Island from Landeck, Austria. Maria was born in Landeck after World War II at a displaced persons camp. She longed to help people, especially immigrants like her. She was resourceful, working as a part-time caseworker at the Civic Center, which is why she had a dreadful misfortune of being there. However, at least Maria was able to spend her last day alive helping others. The American Civic Center was established as a non-profit organization in 1993. The center's purpose is to provide committed services that help immigrants and refugees. Their offerings include the following: refugee settlement, refugee social service programs, citizenship classes, GED classes, ESL classes, various immigration services, and World of Work. The center is very much a fixture and familiar place in Binghamton, New York, which happens to be the county seat of Broome County. Binghamton is divided into 7 different communities, one of which houses the Binghamton Zoo at Ross Park, which is the 5th oldest zoo in America, having opened in 1875. The city is located near the New York-Pennsylvania border and is situated in a bowl-shaped valley. With a population of 47,000 people, it's neither a very small or large town. The city used to be known for manufacturing shoes, computers, and cigars, and was affectionately called the Valley of Opportunity because of the manufacturing opportunities. However, after the Cold War, there was a severe decline in the manufacturing industry in Binghamton, and it was most definitely impacted. Nowadays, the city is more known for its healthcare and education opportunities. Settled in 1802, Binghamton was incorporated as a village in 1834 and as a city in 1867. The city covers a total area of slightly over 11 square miles. Binghamton University is located within the town, and even built a campus downtown. As mentioned, the city sits at the bottom of a valley, and therefore the community has suffered floods many times. There have been several notable floods that caused massive damage in 1865, 1935, 1936, 2006, and 2011. In September of 2011, Tropical Storm Lee caused so much flooding, locally, that there was approximately $1 billion in damage. The winters are snowy and can get extremely cold. The summers, however, are scorching, but wet. Binghamton is rated as the 10th rainiest city in the United States, racking up a massive 162 rainy days annually. Ryan was born on December 8, 1967, in Saigon, Vietnam. When he was 22, he came to the United States with his siblings and parents. From July 9, 1990, through December 1, 1992, the family moved around to various locations throughout California. The last move was clear across the country, Johnson City, New York to be specific. This was on December 1, 1992. Almost 3 years later, on November 7, 1995, Ryan became a naturalized United States citizen, and on June 2, 1996, the state of New York and Broome County granted Ryan a pistol permit. However, the permit was not valid in New York City. Later that summer, in 1996, Ryan moved to Huntington Park, California, and by most accounts, he appears to have lived a relatively quiet life during the next decade. He applied for government benefits in the state of California in August of 2007, but he was denied. Whether it was just because he was denied benefits or not, Ryan picked up and moved back across the country again, back to New York. Once there, he applied for government benefits in New York. Ryan bought a .45 caliber Beretta handgun on March 21, 2008, which would end up becoming a murder weapon. On February 4, 2009, he purchased a 9mm Beretta, which also wound up becoming a weapon of mass destruction. Reports indicated that Ryan had a difficult time adjusting to life in the United States. While his family quickly picked up English and obtained good jobs, Ryan struggled, and his English was broken and slower. This seemed to cause a lack of confidence, and Ryan mostly could only land menial entry-level jobs, without much opportunity. He began to have encounters with police, run-ins that were petty in the beginning and included offenses such as driving an uninspected vehicle, writing a bad check, and various other traffic offenses. Nothing seemed to result in any significant trouble or punishment. Oddly, he got married. However, Ryan never once told a single family member about this marriage. The woman was a Chinese immigrant, and the couple married on December 23, 1999 in New York, but they moved to Los Angeles right afterward. They seemed to live happily enough during that time. Ryan worked as a driver, delivering sushi, and held that job for almost 7 years, which is the longest he managed to stick with anything. While in California, his wife filed for divorce. They separated on May 16, 2005, and she moved in with family, and Ryan moved back in with his parents in New York. He got a job in a shop vac factory, but Ryan continued to have trouble speaking English. It caused him a lot of frustration, so in January or February of 2009, he enrolled in English classes at the Civic Center. He attended classes for a brief period, actually going to about 8 courses in February and 2 in March. But then, all of a sudden, he stopped going completely in early March. Ryan was eventually dropped from the class due to a lack of attendance. The classes were daily from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. If he would have stuck with it, maybe he would have made progress. The teacher indicated Ryan was a decent student with fair understanding, verbal, and listening skills. He was by no means the star of the class, but he didn't appear to hate being there either. Ryan was described as extremely quiet and reclusive. Likely, his struggles with the English language caused him so much anxiety, it was an awkward process in trying to make friends. Ryan's own family said that he had none. In fact, he rarely even spoke to his family members, preferring the solitude of his bedroom. When Ryan did open up to people, he liked to talk about guns. He had an almost perverse love for firearms, and the only hobby Ryan expressed an interest in was going to the shooting range. Ryan was a great shot. Despite his intense interest in all things guns and shooting, his family never really knew his obsession went that far. They never even realized he even went to a shooting range or owned a gun. Sometimes Ryan would utter comments about shooting politicians, killing the president, and hating America, but they never took it seriously. After all, Ryan was a reticent, withdrawn young man that struggled with his anxiety over learning English and fitting in. Except it was so much worse than that. Over the 2 weeks leading up to the shooting, Ryan completely stopped eating dinner and rarely came out of his room.
And I'm glad that, he didn't have a problem with the neighborhood. He didn't, there was never any, very quiet street. There was never any neighbor problems or anything like that.
Signs were there that something was off. Sometimes the red flags and flashes of a truly troubled individual are challenging to pick up on, though. Only a few months after the family moved to the United States, Ryan started telling the family that he thought people were trying to kill him. The first sign of psychosis seemed to be affecting Ryan, and his dad even took his son for a mental health evaluation. But because of the language barriers, it appears that the mental health workers didn't quite grasp the severity of Ryan's situation. Doctors merely sent Ryan home without a word, no medication, and no follow-up plan. When a family reaches out, this is when and where mental health professionals should be able to step in and help. Most families are not equipped to deal with mental illness, not because they don't want to, but because it can become impossible to control a situation you aren't trained for. Ryan started exhibiting odd behaviors, and he refused to wear short-sleeved shirts. After taking a shower, he would come out of the bathroom fully clothed with long pants and long sleeves. He wasn't able to graduate high school and was going to try to obtain a GED. Ryan managed to work various jobs, mostly at factories. However, he could never keep them for very long. Ryan was a devoted member of the Binghamton gun club, and not long before the shooting, he asked another club member to take several photos of him holding guns. The pictures were taken on March 31st, 2009. It was probably one of the first and only times Ryan honestly looked happy. In fact, gun club members knew Ryan as the happy guy. He was relaxed and never seemed upset when he was at the range. He came, shot his guns, cleaned them, and left. Within about a year between March 2008 and March 2009, Ryan purchased at least 4 different firearms, including a Beretta 45, Beretta 9mm, Glock 17 9mm, and a Springfield 9mm. He was collecting a small arsenal, almost as if he was going to war.
He never showed me any type of violent behavior. He never acted aggressive toward me. I wish I could say I understand why he would do something like this, or that he, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
The only other place Ryan seemed to enjoy going was the Broome County Public Library, located on Court Street.